our head of marketing at the time, Sarah Anderson, I like emailed her one day. I'm like, hey, look, they're starting to like kind of recognize me on these forums, and like I'm sort of becoming a force. What are your thoughts on like there's this new platform called Twitter, like me just starting up a Twitter account that's named Ronnie2K? And she's like, oh, that's a great idea. That singular decision like set off this like chain of events, obviously, which is what it is now.
I'm Tom Ward, and over the last couple years, I've had the chance to sit down with some of the biggest celebrities and influencers in the world. What I've always found most fascinating is the stories of the businesses that they've built behind the scenes. On the show, you'll get an inside look of what it takes to build a successful business from some of the biggest celebrities, business people, and up-and-coming entrepreneurs in the world. This is The Tom Ward Show.
Guys, welcome to the Tom Ward Show, where we talk to the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. New interviews every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Today, we've got Ronnie Singh, aka Ronnie2K. He's the brand ambassador for 2K. And you're kind of the face of the brand at this point.
Yeah, what's up, Tom? How are you?
I'm excited to talk with you, man. I'm a huge Hoops fan. And I really love your story because it's so kind of unconventional, I guess would be the word for
this. Good word,
right?
Yeah.
So your parents have, they want their kid to be successful.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cultures, my wife's family is the same way. It's lawyer, doctor, engineer, everything else, right? You're going to go into one of these and you're going to be happy and you're going to do it. But you tried to do it, right? You tried to be the good son. You went to law school, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure as a first-generation kid. Like, my parents worked so hard. I mean, they still do. But, like, when we were kids, 7 to 11, like, traditional businesses, like convenience stores and gas stations and whatnot. But the expectation was they were working so hard because they wanted me to go to college. I was the first kid in my family to go to finish college in the United States, and not that that's an extraordinary story, because a lot of people have that story, that they came here for the land of opportunity. I definitely wanted to set an example for my younger brothers and for the other generations ahead, which is why, like, if it wasn't doctor, engineer, computer scientist, the traditional kind of brown career, it was, at least I was going to go to postgraduate school, and I was going to be lawyer. But even that was like, I sort of landed on that. Like, I wanted to be a sports agent. I was inspired by Jerry Maguire and, like, the glamour of sports, and wanting to work on those contracts and whatnot. It was always sports for me. And then like
usually
trying to figure out,
most agents go to law school, right? I mean,
yeah. So like there was a
natural.
traditional path, right? Like, but I didn't understand that, like, the glamour that you saw of what a sports agent is, and obviously I deal with them so much now, working with the players on the other side. Like, I've had an agent before, right? Which is kind of crazy. The work that goes into that, is not something I was interested in at all.
I'm guessing it's a lot of babysitting. At times.
I mean, to go to Columbia Law School, which I had the privilege of going to, and then grabbing somebody's dry cleaning wasn't exactly didn't feel like the same thing. No, obviously there's it's such a amazing career. You have to do so much research. You have to work so hard to get to that place. But like it became apparent to me early in my career that was not what I wanted to do.
So you did, so you graduate, you did get a job as a lawyer, but how long did you last?
Like 3 months. What was crazy? I was working on this corporate case, and we were doing like 80 to 90 hours a week, which is a lot, but like, but I do that all the time now. Right. But it was totally fine if I'd felt like the passion for it, but I didn't. So it dragged on me really quick. Almost more in those 3 months was I dragged down by my career than the almost 15 years I've been at 2K, right? Like,
because you have passion there.
Yeah, you just didn't. I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. So again, it became clear to me that it was time to kind of pivot. But again, it just came back to the root of sports. Like, that is the business I wanted to be in. Gaming was secondary, right? And like, I've always believed that, like, if you really have a passion for something, you can find a niche. Even, I don't need to tell you this, but like, people that are in sports, it's a very in high demand. Like everybody wants to do it.
It's a cool gig if you can get it.
Gig. which means that you will be taken advantage of for your passion for that, right? Like, and a lot of people have to start from the bottom, and of course I did too. But if you're really passionate about something and you figure out how to work hard and you continue to educate, which is what I had to do with social media and like being given the opportunity to do that as the face of 2K eventually, you can make money doing that. It's just like you have to figure out a niche within whatever industry it is, whether it's pot making or like the music or whatever. Like
you can make a
you
living
have to.
smoking weed.
That's right.
I mean,
I didn't mean that pot.
Well,
I meant,
I'm saying that
ceramic.
it's literally insane. But you could be a weed influencer,
sure,
and talk about I don't know, I don't smoke anymore, but strains and stuff, and go make a couple $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
and that's insane.
The world is open, like, and I think that the way that media and marketing has transitioned has really opened up an opportunity in that particular part of the world, which is very cool.
So you did literally, I mean, I couldn't think, so you go to Columbia, I'm sure you're working at a pretty good law firm, you go to Columbia.
I worked at Morrison Forrester and Fish and Richardson, two corporate law firms.
Pretty good law firms, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
So you go to that, and then you go, I'm going to go work for a WNBA team
it
for
wasn't
no
even
money?
WNBA, it was the NWBL. They were like the summer league of the WNBA. So I wasn't making any money.
What were you doing? And
I ran their like kind of game day operations. So like in minor league sports, it's not really the product that's happening on the court or the field or whatever. It's all the ancillary stuff. It's like, so like, let's fast forward. After the NWBL, I went to work for the Golden Baseball League, San Diego Surf Dogs. I signed Jose Canseco. We'll get there, I'm sure, in a second. But the real product was not what was happening on the field, but like the sponsorships and making those fun. So like we had a toothbrush sponsorship, and we would have our dance team go out and take these gigantic toothbrushes and brush the bases, right? And like make that entertaining. It was much more about what was going on the like periphery of the sport than the actual sport itself.
Well, before we even get there, talk about, because people watching this, I'm sure, have been in the same exact position as you. Getting pressure, whether it's family or the girlfriend or whoever, to go a certain way. And you go completely the other way. I want to find out, what's mom and dad's reaction at the time, and how does that even go down?
I thought at the time I was going to get disowned. I mean, my parents are amazing. They had a lot of respect for my passion for sports. They had seen it forever.
But they didn't work
so hard. That's exactly right.
To work at a minor league.
So then they really didn't get it. Like, I mean, for a long time they didn't get the 2K thing either, right? Like, it's a massive thing to take this amazing, in their minds and my mind, in anybody's mind, this opportunity to go to a top 5 law school and then say, no, I'm going to do.
It's a proven path to success. Like you you do this, you work your 8 days a week, you make partner, whatever the goal is, you're going to make a lot of money.
But so like my argument then, and I still think it's a good one, and if there's anything to learn from this, is like, in your 20s, I don't think you can make a lot of mistakes as long as you continue to like have that kind of confidence and believe in yourself. I always thought that the law thing would be there for me eventually if I wanted to like go back, or if I was desperate enough to like do something that I was not totally thrilled with. But I needed to make sure, like, that was the biggest thing. I needed to be like, okay, I at least tried everything I could to see if I could make this thing work. And of course, like, I had a lot of support, friends, family, but ultimately it was like, I'm just going to do this, and we're going to see how it goes, and in 5 years, if I need to pivot, it's fine. I mean, like, look at the ecosystem of the workplace now, right? Most people don't hang around. I mean, I've been at 2K for 15 years, and that's a extraordinary story. A lot of people are, like, kind of hopping around and, like, trying to get little tastes and like pivot and build,
especially when you're young.
When you're young, you in a way you should do that to make sure that you're doing exactly what you want. But then when you have that confidence about a place that you really believe in and see the path, and 2K has proven to just be an amazing company, and like the growth that we've had in the 15 years I've been here, and also the people that you work with, like, that's what keeps you at a place after. But that I did the early jumping thing really, really fast for the first few years, and step off a very obvious career to a very non-traditional career.
Now, I've talked to a million people in different industries and stuff. And I just had an interview before this, and we were talking about you almost have to be delusional because did you know you're from the Bay?
Yeah.
Did you know anyone who was agents or worked in sports or was an executive at a team? Like, did you have like?
I never thought about that, but
Did
no.
you like? You probably didn't, right?
I mean, the Bay is not known for that, right?
No.
The Bay is known for tech, and I guess I'm in the
You
tech
are.
industry, but like,
But not for sports
really.
business.
Yeah, yeah, and also like we're not in the traditional tech like space, right? South Bay, we're way up in the North Bay, way far away from that. So yeah, it was. I don't know where the inspiration there came
so
from.
where
It
does the
wasn't like I had a
belief
lot of role models. It was
Where
more
does
just
it
like
come
like
from?
I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I really understood that gaming was on a path up, and there were a few ways to make money in sports, and gaming was definitely one of them.
So, but at the time, we're
Yeah.
talking 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Now there's a million ways to
Yeah,
make money in gaming.
Yeah.
But at the time, right? So you're doing the minor league baseball thing. You're making money now, which is good.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not
Took a
getting
while,
sure
yeah.
you're not getting rich.
Yeah,
At night, you're going home and playing 2K, and you're
Right.
you're just a fan. Like
Yeah.
you love playing this. You love hoops. We talked hoops before.
Yeah.
You're obviously passionate about
Yeah.
this. Now, did you ever imagine that could be a career? Did that
zero
seem
chance.
you just like to play the game,
Zero
right?
chance. Yeah. I mean, look, they were hiring, and they had this forum manager position, and I had said on the forums and like engaged in the conversation a little bit, or like seen it for sure, because I was like top 10 in the leaderboards in 2K5. So like I was actually
Wow.
actively looking to try to become a better 2K player.
So you were on the radar.
I don't know if
Like
like
you were top 10.
well,
right?
yeah, I don't think they knew that then. Like
Oh.
now it's so important to know who your top 10 players are, or who your top
Yeah.
10 YouTubers are. But back then, like, God, I'm dating myself a lot. But like,
Don't worry, I'm old.
I don't think like that was the thought. Like competitive gaming was nothing, right? Like I played a lot of Nintendo 64 back then. There was no online, right? Like you weren't competitively like ranked or anything.
You weren't
like
getting
that.
paid.
You weren't getting paid for that. So that wasn't the path for pay. It was like, how can we turn this relationships and better market? How can I become like a marketing force in this like new age marketing vehicle that was social media? That was like probably the first thing I was like, I can grasp myself into this role. And early in the career, right? Like I was on the forums and like people knew me. Like I'll never forget. I had a avatar of Ronnie James Dio.
Now, pause on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You watching this have no idea who Ronnie James Dio is.
Yeah.
I'm old and I
Yeah.
like rock music. I know him. He's a metal guy. Yeah, the devil sign is Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah,
So
so
he
I was
was
a
in
huge rock alternative fan.
Were
so
you
that
a
was my
fan?
avatar. Yeah, of course. But like also the name was Ronnie, so I was like, okay. So, but I'll never
So
forget
random.
like our head of marketing at the time, Sarah Anderson. I like emailed her one day. I'm like, hey, look, they're starting to like kind of recognize me on these forums, and like I'm sort of becoming a force. What are your thoughts on like there's this new platform called Twitter, like me just starting up a Twitter account that's named Ronnie2K? And she's like, oh, that's a great idea. That singular decision like set off this like chain of events, obviously, which is what it is now. But it was also a belief that like
I could
we
do
were doing
this.
great things, that she could see me as being a responsible, reasonable human being. Because the problem with the influencer space, especially when they're personas that actively work for a company, is you're investing in that person. Like you are like, this person is a responsible human being who's gonna do smart things and make smart decisions. And I was mid-20s at the time, right? So like that's a massive leap. But I maybe like for the company to have that kind of foresight and belief and drive is really what separates 2K as like such a great place to work. Because in a way now you look at it like influencer marketing is such a big thing, but like I was such an OG influencer because like nobody had kind of set that like mode up, especially at a brand, and like we were doing it, and like we were like leaning in, and we were doing like, it was great.
So when you reached out to them, hey, let me set up this Twitter account, right? So they look at you.
Yeah.
no marketing background. There's a guy who's a good player
Yeah.
and is good in the forums. Did you kind of just position yourself like, hey, I'm a grown up, I'm responsible, I went to law school? Is that kind of how you pitched yourself? Like, I'm passionate about this game and I'm no kid, like I could be responsible
I think
about
that they
this?
appreciated my passion for the game, but that I mean, I had proven some marketing abilities. I mean, that was probably a big part I got the job. Let's talk about the other side. Like, we know why I wanted the job. It was 10 minutes from where I grew up.
Of course.
It was in basketball. It was video games. Like, everything was perfect about it for me. I think the reason that they like actively liked me, I had a little bit of recognition being a top player. But I think that the other thing that they saw in me was like I had grassroots marketing chops.
It's cool, you know, you're in fashion, you're in music, there's all these cool opportunities that come from that too. But you also use it for good, like, you know, the Black Lives Matter thing. You know, what video game gets into causes?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never thought about it.
So to that point, like we
That's
obviously
pretty cool.
we get involved in the places where we see fit. You know, like I always talk about this, like I'm not going to become a brand ambassador for Huggies diapers, at least not anytime soon.
Maybe when you're old and...
Well, I did just get married, so maybe like eventually have kids and then become a Huggies diaper endorser. But
influencer dad.
Yeah, if I ever get a deal, I'll let you know. It probably came from the show. But no, I guess the point is like we only have a point of view on the things that where it makes sense for us to have a point of view, and that was a very important one. Obviously, we also we have our 2K Foundations program. I was just telling you we're opening up a court with Devin Booker. I think around the 30 now across the globe, all continents we've done it in, where we've opened up a court for racially injustice programs to kind of give back basketball, which is core to our business, obviously, right? And grow basketball in these communities that need it. So I've partnered with Karl Towns and Giannis and all of the big guys to work on these programs and, you know, give back to the game that's meant so much to us.
You know, I've interviewed every big traditional influencer out there, right?
Yep.
So I, you know, learned a little bit about influencer marketing. If you go back then, I don't know how it operated in the gaming industry though, right? So if you go back 15 years, it seems like, hey, let's just have like the best people at this game who are passionate about it. Let's have them you know, go spread the word of how great we are. Now, how has that changed over the last 15 years? What does influencer marketing in the gaming industry look like now?
Well, it still starts with authenticity. Like, we don't really work with anybody that's not very good at our game and like wants to talk about it passionately. Like that would seem kind of wrong. So it definitely starts with that. But now it's also about like the way that our game shifted. I already spoke on this. Like instead of quick game, it's about you're my player and like the point of view you have, this clothes you wear, all of that stuff. So that's the same sort of way we think about influencer marketing, right? Like we're activating guys that have a personality, a point of view, their storytelling with the way that they go up on YouTube, and those are kind of the guys that we think of in working because it's a proven model with us, right? Like I would not have worked nearly as well as the original influencer for 2K if I didn't start by loving the game and then like just wanted to do my absolute best for it. Our YouTubers, when we have a great base of guys, like just amazing people that have helped us and me, like, you know, like think about how we're going to market to our fans. You know, some of them are just amazing storytellers. You know, we had Chris Move. He kind of took my player, put his face on there, and just like told our entire narrative story. And I remember our development team was always like, he's leaking the story, but in a way it was reaching an audience base that our game couldn't even, you know, reach in a way. And so then they got a lot more comfortable with that. They're like, this guy's putting his own spin, he's so excited. You get his, you know, elation on it, and that kind of gave it another, you know, layer to allow us to storytell. And I'm so grateful to, you know, our YouTube influencers. They've really just been great to support our business.
Now, what's wild too about your story is, we talked about this before, is so you got that going on. You're kind of behind the scenes guy. You're in the forum. You're obviously a good player and stuff. But somehow, I don't know why. I don't know if you know why, right? Somehow you became a quote unquote influencer yourself and, you know, forward facing guy within the organization. How it didn't seem like that was.
I definitely
the
didn't have
plan.
any media traditional background. That's for sure. That was not the plan.
So how did this organically happen?
I think it just became like uh continually like being part of that topical conversation and connecting kind of the our community, which also includes the NBA players and how passionate they get about ratings and all that stuff.
maybe
Like
too passionate.
yeah, probably too passionate. Where like it started to just like that conversation included me as that person, and like as the content world grew too, like it was easier for a brand to assign a person to it to be part of that content. So like um I think people just connect with people better than they connect with brands, so it allowed for them to, like an NBA player to get mad at someone as opposed to getting mad at the brand itself. Like they could have that conversation, they could feel like they were heard, and the back and forth. That's where I live in this existence. I'm the one that hears our community, our very amazing community and big community, for every topic that happens in 2K, which is now, like I said, the growth in the amount of people that play the game from 15 years ago has reflected on how involved I am in that NBA world now.
What did it feel like the first time, or I guess when you started to get recognized? I mean, you're a hoops guy. I grew up, you're from the Bay. I love those old Golden State teams, you know what I mean? Run TMC. And, when you start meeting people like a Jordan, or if you just go to an event and a hip hop artist that you love knows who Ronnie Singh is. Did it blow your mind?
I don't know why it didn't really bug me. Like I always thought of like, these guys are just here doing their jobs, and like, they want to be, they have the regular story of anybody that's in their mid to late 20s. They like clothes, they like, dating, they like, like I could relate with them on that kind of stuff because that was the life that I was also leading. So for me, it was never
more like a coworker relationship.
It was like, or like just a friend relationship. Like I wasn't ever trying to get something out of them without like some sort of mutual benefit, or just, and most of the times it wasn't even that. It was just like, we're in the same place, like let's mind share and let's vibe and see what happens. There were a couple exceptions to that, right? Like first time I met Jordan was mind blowing, and I'll never forget. I've told this story a couple times, but I had met him a few times, but just at commercial shoots. But the first time we actually had a real conversation was 4 years ago. The first game I played for the Celebrity All-Star game. I've been friends with his sons for forever. And I go to the Jordan party right after I play in the Celebrity game and at All-Star in Charlotte. And they come up to me. I just got in there and they're like, Ronnie, our dad wants to talk to you about your performance in the Celebrity game.
Your dad? You mean Michael
I'm
Jordan?
like, your dad, Michael Jordan, wants to talk to me about how I play basketball. Okay. So I go over there. I couldn't tell you a word he told me. I'm pretty sure I blacked out, but I'm just in there shaking his hand, and he's going over like things I could do, and like he's like, you could be a really good player, blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is the weirdest out-of-body experience I've ever had. And my buddies were with me, and their like jaws are just dropped the whole time. And so we leave, and I'm like, hey, did you document any of that? Like, my job is content. And they're like, no, we were like, we blacked
no
out
pictures,
as well.
no nothing?
Nothing.
Oh my God.
But I mean, I'll always have a lot of memories like that. And, like anytime a fan comes up, it's like, and it happens at obviously non-basketball events all the time now. And it's just, it's amazing that our brand has meant so much to so many people that they would, want to connect with me in any way. I'm really grateful for that. And just what this game means to kids especially is really great. I don't know if you know this, but I'm on the board for Make-A-Wish
I know
in San Francisco, and some of the programs we've done with them, I've done 50 plus wishes over the past 6 or 7 years. So that's a real like personal kind of thing that I'm connected to. We just built a court actually with the two programs, 2K Foundations, Make-A-Wish, where this kid has epilepsy and is too afraid to shoot in public. he wants to play basketball, but he's too afraid. So we built him a court in his backyard, and so then now he's getting that confidence back, and he wants to go back and start playing basketball on his team, and that's the kind of story that is such a weird byproduct of like this video game meaning so much to so many people, and like
That is
being an educational platform.
how much more valuable is that experience than meeting the big hip hop
Oh
artist?
no, way more. And honestly, like it speaks to the real power of having a platform. Like I don't like. Yeah, of course, it was amazing to meet Michael Jordan and have that funny story, but like to be able to like give back to this game that's meant so much to us as a company, and again as a person as opposed to a brand. Like I just think it means a lot to us. You know, the work that we do.
And could you ever imagine that some kid with limited days left, right? And some, most examples
Mm-hmm.
want something to do with you.
Oh, no, the first time,
Isn't that wild?
the first time we did a wish, I'm like, man, you can wish anything.
Anything.
Are you sure you want to come to our studio? Like, are you sure about this? Then you want to meet me? Like, that's weird. You can go anywhere else in the world.
You might want to rethink this.
But I
kid.
mean, again, it speaks to the just amazingness that is this product and how much it touches so many people.
You talk too about it meaning so much to kids. When you look at it now, you go, okay, I've been around 15 years. So if I do some math, I look at like a Zion.
Yeah.
Okay, guys like that, Carl Anthony Towns. So they were kids 15 years ago.
And the crazy thing is,
probably played it, right?
Well, my first experiences with those two specifically was hilarious. Like, they both came up to me and like talked my ear off for a whole day. I'll never forget Zion. We did a commercial shoot with him for our first integration with him, and he like pulls me aside. He's like, Ronnie, I really hope you don't mind, but can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, you are one of the biggest names in college sports. And he's like, but you mean so much to the basketball community and blah. And I like that still doesn't really register with me because it's like these guys are larger than life. They've gotten so much media attention even before they got to college, but this game means so
Their
much.
whole life.
But I will say that like it's become apparent to me, to your point, this is our we're coming up on our 25th anniversary next year, our 25th installment of 2K, and kids coming in the league are 18 years old. So that literally means they played it their entire lives. And I say it all the time, but being drafted is 1A to these guys, but being into the basketball video game NBA 2K is 1B
with a high rating.
With a high rating. But the fact that they're like putting those two things on the same level, one makes them a lot of money, and one is just like being in this video game that you played your whole life, is pretty crazy.
Now, again, I'm not a video game expert, but I go, okay, there's probably a lot of money in this. I'm looking at the number of employees, all the things you're doing. There's got to be competition. I mean,
competition for what?
Competition for being the premier basketball game out there.
Yeah.
So in 25 years or the 15 years you've been there, I'm guessing there's other video game companies that want to take over.
Like I said,
right?
we didn't have the market share when I began. We were not the leader in the basketball space. And a few years later, we were the leader. And there is no exclusivity on the basketball vertical, unlike other sports leagues. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, like, it speaks to the power of the fan, right? Like, we have our fans have demanded, expected, asked for so much from us every single year, and unlike any other game publisher that I can think of that releases a traditional annualized title, we have delivered time and time again. And it speaks to the attitude and we compete with ourselves, and like the competitive mindset that our visual concepts and 2K teams have to put out the best product that they can, to be proud of themselves year over year. And I know we've talked a lot about like representing that brand, but like I'm a very small cog in like just an amazing, beautiful machine that I'm so proud to represent. These amazing people that I work with. But again, like what it's meant to the basketball world is even bigger, right? So, Yeah, that's how I guess I would answer the one.
There's so many, kids want to be influencers
Yeah.
and they want to be
Yeah, I
in the
can't tell
video
you.
game
Oh my god,
world.
I can't tell you. Like, I do a lot of mentorship stuff, and
That's the kid's number
now
one.
I walk into a classroom and like, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? YouTuber.
Yep.
Over and over again. It's amazing.
15 years ago, that wasn't a
not
job.
thing.
It wasn't a thing.
Right.
What advice do you have? Because you've worked with creators and stuff, and the person watching this goes, I want to get paid to play video games, or I want to get paid to be on YouTube, or I want to meet Zion and hang out with Jordan, right? Yeah. Your path, it didn't seem like that was ever the end goal for you.
Yeah.
You just wanted to kind of be in this world somewhere.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for that kid?
I mean, I hate to give you a very vanilla, dry answer, but it's authenticity, which I spoke so much about. Like, you couldn't create this story. It had to be created because, like, it just had to make sense. It had to be authentic. It had to be, like, that stuff. It was also a lot of perfect timing stuff with me specifically. But then the other thing is you got to work hard. Like, the amount of content these YouTubers put out to start that original grind, like, you only see a lot of these guys that I talk to when I mentor is like, oh, the Chris Moves, the Aiden Ross, all of these guys, like, they see the end product. They don't see how hard those guys work to get there. And it is just like multiple hours of videos every single day. It is a 24/7 job. And you got it. And if you take a day off, I mean, there's no days off. There's been studies like you drop followers, you drop engagement. So you've got to lean in. It's not as just easy as saying waking up one day and saying you're a YouTuber, but that's for every career, right? Like, if I had been that lawyer, I would have had to do the same thing. So
yeah, but I think there's a difference. And it is.
I wouldn't have done it though. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would have done this.
Yeah.
And, like, there's people that would have done this, but you need to know what you mean when you say that. Like, you got to have ultimate confidence, and you got to just go for it and not take no for an answer. And like, I mean, look, I was burgeoning a path and a career that nobody had really done before. So like, there was a lot of like, Ronnie, you sure you want to do this? Or like, this feels like it's crossing the line. Or like, when I was clapping back at like players, like, that wasn't like, at first everybody's like, whoa, this powerful person is getting upset, and I'm like, no, it's part of the conversation. It's part of it's almost like manufactured. Like, this is what sports is about. Yes. Right? Like, you want somebody to talk trash and competitive. Like, even when we were not the market leader, I was clapping at the other company a lot early, and everybody was, at first, there was a little uncomfortability about that. But that's what happens when you trailblaze, right? Like, there's going to be a little bit of uncomfortability. And that's, our brand and many brands that have been successful are a testament to that.
Well, you look at, I'm a boxing fan, right? You look at any fight.
Yeah.
These guys could be off camera.
Why is boxing back? For exactly that reason.
Because of villains.
Yeah.
Look at Floyd Mayweather. Who was a better villain than him?
Yep.
Everyone hated him, but guess what? Who made more money than anyone else? Floyd Mayweather. And these guys,
the wins losses aren't the only thing.
No, and these guys, the two fighters, could be best of friends off camera.
Yeah.
But when the camera's on, the audience doesn't want to see that.
Yeah.
They want to hate. They want to see trash talking and the stuff that you kind of did, clapping back at other companies or players. And let's not forget, this is entertainment.
Yeah. And the NBA has changed their product to be the same way. Again, I spoke to it before. Like, they had to bill LeBron and Steph as media moguls and everything that those two amazing human beings are, but that they are opposed to each other.
Magic and Bird.
They're different.
It's always
like you had to set up years of storytelling to do that, and that's what most brands that are successful in this day and age, like, that's what they do.
I'm a huge Steph guy. I hate LeBron. Sorry, LeBron fans. He's not the GOAT. Jordan's still number one. But who is the next? Okay, so you had LeBron, and I don't believe. Let's be real. I mean, it's incredible the numbers he's still putting up at this age. But eventually, he's got to retire at some point. Steph's getting older.
I don't know, man. Like,
you think he's gonna keep going forever?
Well, not forever, but like. God, he might still have another 4 or 5 years left at this level. It's crazy.
His longevity, and I got to give him props.
I mean, he's taking such good care of his body, and like, he's going to break every statistical record that there is. He's getting real close already, so like, it's amazing.
But what's the next? I mean, NBA, I'm sure there's a marketing meeting going on right now.
Yeah.
What are the next storylines? Which ones do you see, like,
I mean,
as
I
far as
think
the
that's
younger guys?
I think that's great. Like, there's so much conversation about this next generation, right? Like Tatum and Luka and I mean, Luka's just amazing.
Is he okay? Because I know
the
he came out of the game last night. Is he
the
all right?
injury. No, I don't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't been following. Yeah, I think he's gonna be fine.
Okay.
But Giannis obviously, and then even the next guys, right? Like Scoot and Victor, like they look incredible as well. And I mean, there's not been as much buzz on a rookie. I think he's probably past Zion, so there hasn't been as much buzz on a rookie since LeBron with Victor, right? So like, it's gonna be amazing to see what he does for our game.
And I think, and I'm biased because I love the NBA, but I think somebody pitched me an article idea over the summer, and I never even thought about it because I'm not a baseball fan. He goes, Tom, look at the top 10 most followed players on Instagram from the NFL and the NBA. Then go look at baseball. And I was blown. I forget, Mike Trout maybe or somebody, but like they had 3 million followers on Instagram, and that was number one. And you look at LeBron and Steph and these guys.
But that was an investment that the leagues took in them.
How do they do it? What makes them? How do they do it?
No, they told the story about these guys off the court. Like, more about LeBron's life, and they've been following it like since he was obviously in high school and being featured on ESPN. They invested in these storylines, right? I'm not sure if MLB is like thinking in that same way about. They're more team centric, right? And like, which is fine. You have your 100-year-old franchises, but people are connecting with people. I don't know how to say this, any clearer or make more examples. Like, and the amazing thing is the NFL does a good job where people don't wear helmets, or I'm sorry, where people do
you
wear
don't see
helmets.
their face.
Yeah, but yet they find a way to market these guys. So. But the NBA is just it's the best league in the world. Like
no question.
They tell stories about their guys and really lean into these players and everything about them. You know more about. I mean, you know so much about Aisha and Savannah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people care about that kind of stuff. They want to be relatable, and that's why Steph is such a phenomenon. Like. Kids think they can be Steph Curry.
He literally changed the game. Every kid wants to shoot threes.
He doesn't have a body that's LeBron, and that was part of their storyline telling, right? Like he has an accessible body, right? Like I could build that body.
Yeah. I can't look like LeBron.
There's very few people that can look like LeBron, right?
No.
And, so like, but that's what people want to aspire, and that's again going back to my career, right? Like, we are trying to build a platform for aspiration with the kids that play our game. We want them to be the next LeBron and whatever, but we probably want them to be the next me as well. Like, to tell that story, play the game, and make 2K their lives and talk about it and all of that.
So what are the lessons in here? So I'm thinking of the person watching this who, there's a lot of millennial entrepreneurs watching and reading, and they're building brands. It's a very entrepreneurial generation now. What lessons are there from both what you did at 2K and the NBA? Like we're just talking about storytelling and stuff. Can they apply to their, hoodie company or their, whatever, food truck or whatever their business happens to be?
I would say 3 things. Authenticity, we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Topical, which means like engage yourself in the conversations that are happening in the now. Like you got to be part of that. Like you have to include yourself. That's why TikTok has become such a great platform. These people making videos about things that are happening with trending sounds and like how can you take what's trending and make it and get some of that shine? Like that's important. And then both of those are a byproduct of the hard work that goes into that. You cannot take breaks. You can't turn off. Like, I'll tell you what. So I told you I got married.
Congrats.
Thank you. I went away for 3.5 weeks. Ethan will tell you, like, I was very not on vacation, but that was the most I've been on vacation my entire life.
Yeah.
Like, and it was hard.
It was as unplugged as you get.
My wife was probably going to murder me, but it was going to be the shortest.
You're still together,
ever.
though, right?
Yeah, we're still together,
That's good.
So I'm surviving. But no, she understands. She gets it. But like, it's you are dedicated to what you have to do. But again, that doesn't speak to just this career. It speaks to anything that you want to be successful at. I know that a lot of the people that have been successful in companies like Hoodie, like a clothing company, they dedicate their whole thing to it. You can vacation later, you can, chill later, like all of that's there for you. Like really lean in your formidable years and your years where you have a lot of energy to do as much as you can.
And finally, one more thing too that I think you're an expert obviously at is both personal brand voice and brand voice.
Yeah.
How does a brand, first of all, find their voice?
How does a brand find their voice?
How does a brand find a voice and have a real personality? It ain't easy to do.
It isn't easy to do. I think the way that mine started, again, authenticity, but also like
But it's more than that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's more like how do I say this? Like I don't know about appreciation, but I think the way I want to answer this question is sort of like posing it back to you, which is like, why does when I'm with an NBA player or a celebrity or whatever, why do they, outside of like maybe what I could provide them in terms of being a platform for discovery or whatever, why do they want to spend time with me? Why do they want to invest like when they are so busy? Like, why do we do that? I think we do that because we can grow and inspire and learn from each other. And like that, like my career has changed a lot since I began. Like when I first started, Twitter was a year old, and like, again, dating myself, but like,
I remember
but it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, since then, there's been so many new platforms, and you have to continue to educate and learn, and like want to be, the expert of that stuff. I think it's funny. We're going to take this conversation totally full circle now, which is my parents wanted me to go to postgraduate school and like lean into a particular career.
Of course.
But I'm doing that every day. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
My postgraduate career is
Sports.
Every day I'm learning.
Yeah.
Like I'm leading into the new social media platform.
Yeah.
Like my education didn't stop because I left law school.
Yep. Well, a lot of people it does.
No,
they go get the job
it does.
and the learning stops.
They stop developing.
Yeah.
Like you just get stuck at a career. Don't let yourself do that. Like really believe, really take a shot and lean in and learn and like don't take no for an answer. A lot of the themes that I brought up, I wasn't gonna take anything lightly. Like I wasn't gonna do anything but what I wanted to do. And that's the determination you need to make this work.
Talk about relationships too, because you obviously figured it out. Everybody comes celebrity relationships, a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got to be very delicate with that too, because people are coming at them for something every second of every day.
Yeah.
You've figured out a way to make relationships successful ones, it seems like, at the high level, whether it's an artist or an athlete, or it's the person in the forum, John 1 2 3 4, who just likes the game, or maybe who's yelling at you for an improvement or a rating, or a player yelling at you for a rating.
Yeah.
It seems like you've figured out how to operate on different levels with different kinds of people, both positive and negative relationships.
I think a lot of it's like just empathy and understanding what the person is upset about, right? Like, or why they're so involved. Like, so like when we'll take a regular fan wants to get mad at me about servers or the game or whatever. What are they really trying to say? They're trying to say, I love this product. I really want this product to be the best it can. And I'm very involved and I'm trying to find somebody to like voice that to. That's the best kind of fan, right? Like I am, and we do listen to all of those people, and that's what has compelled us to like be bigger and better and try to do better every year. The relationship thing like is so critical because like I want to try to be the best person I can for each of the various like things to make our product better. We're listening, we're learning, we're activating on what we're hearing from all of these various communities to try to just to be better. And I identify that you can't do anything by yourself. You have to take these relationships and like learn and like facilitate what it is that you're getting out of those conversations.
So what else is going on in 2K? Promote. What else you got going on? What improvements
Yeah,
are
we
going
talked a lot
on?
about that.
We haven't talked
well,
much
so
about
the
the
All-Star
game.
game's coming up. So we obviously have a new season, new My Team cards. It's always a fun time of the year because we're getting to Galaxy Opals and like some of like the higher rated stuff. We've done a lot more new music and like new fashion brands. It's that time of year where like we're starting to talk about 24 while continuing to service 23. So, it's also that time of year where we're launching other products. We just had PGA 2K23 come out, and now the tour's, kicking off in a couple weeks. So that's going to be really fun. But then WWE, I'm a huge wrestling fan. Like, actually was probably a bigger wrestling fan as a kid than I was as maybe not basketball, but pretty much everything else. So John Cena was just named our cover star. Obviously,
Oh, cool.
he's had a legendary career spanning over 20 years. So it's very cool I'm really looking forward to working with him, and obviously he does a lot with Make-A-Wish, so it'll be cool to kind of align on that stuff. And WWE 2K22, last year's game was so great, and so like the ball is rolling to make this our biggest release yet. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Right on, brother. Hey, it was really a pleasure.
Yeah.
I love your story. I love talking hoops
Appreciate
with
you.
you too. Guys, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. New interviews every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. You learn from everyone, every episode. And if you don't have time to watch the video episode, make sure you check out the audio podcast available everywhere podcasts are. Thanks, guys.